Hello you lovely people. I'm so sorry that this video took way too long. I know we're halfway into 2022 and these are all games from 2021, but I did really want to make this video and I'm so sorry I took so long. The only excuse I really have is having a hard time staying motivated, and that's been a really big issue for me recently, so I hope you can understand, and I'm so sorry. But I've been trying to keep videos coming out for you guys to keep you distracted while I frantically stumbled around in the background. And I wanted to look my best for this video, so I'm sorry that took a little extra time. And I see that you also look fucking amazing. I notice these things. See? I notice. I pay attention. Alright, so now that I've finished kissing your ego, let's get into the video, and hopefully you'll forget about the months that I took to make this. Months more than I should have spent. But, now the first half of this video is games I think you should check out. Honorable mentions, if you will. Whereas later on will be my review of my top 5 games of the year. So strap in, ladies and gentlemen. This is gonna be a long one. Here's a quick rundown of the games I didn't get to play, but would have potentially made my top 5 had I played them. Everhood, Metroid Dread, Returnal, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, The Medium, and probably many others. Now let's get into the honorable mentions. My first honorable mention is The Ascent, developed by Neon Giant, this being their first game as a dev team. The Ascent is a gorgeous trip through the aesthetically grimy cyberpunk metropolis of Veles. If that's how you say it, I'm not sure. A twin-stick shooter that feels just a bit short of how good it looks. The flaws of this game are skin deep. Some bugs here and there, maybe a visual glitch or two, but all in all, this game is incredibly fun, especially with a friend or two. I had the pleasure of playing this game on a projector with some of my favorite people, and I think that really enhanced the experience. If you have the chance to nab this game on a sale for you and a couple friends, I highly recommend it. It was so fucking fun and some of my favorite moments in all of my gaming career. Enjoy this quick reenactment. I will say the game does struggle from variety in the early levels, but you slowly unlock new weapons later on, and I must mention that the guns and suits vibe very well with the game in their entirety. All in all, a good game. It has its flaws, but I guarantee that you will have a fun time with a couple of friends. Back 4 Blood. You know how most people feel about this one, and if you don't, allow me to give you the rundown. The general consensus for Back 4 Blood was that it was to Left 4 Dead what Paladins was to Overwatch. Not necessarily a bad game, just a less inspired version of the original. I partially agree with this, but not on the Paladins front. That's an entirely different video. While saying Back 4 Blood is a worse version of Left 4 Dead was all the rage when it came out, now it has had time to breathe, let me give you a small rundown of what I do enjoy about the game. The gunplay of Back 4 Blood is quite good. I found myself missing it from time to time. It feels quite snappy and is just generally quite pleasing. The graphics and aesthetic of the game are quite enjoyable, although it is pretty dark. You can tell some of the maps are probably gorgeous with a bit of light, but sadly, everything is a bit drenched in darkness. Other than that, the game really does struggle with originality. While it feels like a less inspired Left 4 Dead, it manages to be an incredibly fun experience with a couple of friends, even with all its flaws. So all in all, if you have a bunch of friends attempting to convince you to play it with them, I recommend nabbing it. Otherwise, grab it on a $15 or $20 sale. It's a good experience if you enjoy some mindless gunning fun, but that's about all it's got going for it. I don't wish to spoil much, so I hope you enjoy this incredibly quick review here. Before your eyes is a lovely story that leads into a depressing one. Its quirk is that every time you blink in real life,
Time moves forward in the game. Yeah, you can see how sad this can get. Whilst the game is short, like Roy, the game manages to be charming, enjoyable, and if you don't play it with your webcam on, you are in fact a coward, and I hope you burn alive under 1,000 tons of sulfuric acid. The game only took me an hour and 15 minutes to complete, but it was worth the experience. I don't regret a single dollar I spent on it. It manages to hold a beautiful amount of charm, while keeping you intrigued in its world it's introducing, as well as the life you lived. It's carried by interesting and well-written characters, as well as a mind-bending mystery. This game deserved more love than I saw it get, and I truly believe it deserves more recognition. I didn't even realize how short the game was. I got completely lost in it. I must say I recommend it to everyone who enjoys a lovely little story-based indie game to play in an afternoon. I would say if this game had a flaw, it would be its replayability, but you could have assumed that one already. I'd nab this on sale if it doesn't sound like your perfect bag, but if this sounds awesome to you, I'd nab it now and play it at your next convenience. I absolutely loved it. Now, before we get into this next one, I never got to play Psychonauts 2. But my lovely brother, Seymour the Llama, did in fact play it, and they're here to review it for you. Take it away, Seymour.
Thanks, Nimble. I'll take it from here. Final Fantasy XIV is a critically acclaimed MMORPG, with an expanded free trial that allows you to play through the entirety of...
What the fuck are you doing?
Oh wait, you said Psychonauts 2. My bad.
Yes, I did.
Psychonauts 2 is a tightly constructed action platformer, full of charm and quirkiness, packed full of interesting characters, beautiful art, and some surprisingly unnerving moments of body horror. You play as Raz, a new intern for the Psychonauts, a team of mind-exploring secret agents who are constantly working to defeat villains who manipulate minds by, manipulating those villains' minds, mostly. The game's levels each mostly take place in a different character's mindscape, which allows for some crazy and unique level design to battle enemies and platform through. One might be a nightmare of teeth and dental equipment, while the next world is an explosively colorful sensory overload. Psychonauts 2 is a sequel to the 2005 cult classic Psychonauts, and in my opinion is only an improvement on it. The gameplay is cleaner, and all the delightful characters and world building from the original are expanded and explored in a way that never feels too derivative. The new characters largely steal the show, and are written with the same cleverness and humor that made the first game's characters so memorable. Regardless of whether you've played Psychonauts 1, if an action platformer chock full of creativity sounds like your kind of game, I strongly recommend Psychonauts 2. And if it isn't, I mean, look at this little guy. He wants you to play it.
Thank you very much, Seymour. An excellent review. Now let's get on to the next one, Deathloop. I don't really recommend this game, but I put it on here because I knew people would bring it up. Deathloop reminds me of Cyberpunk 2077. Allow me to explain this bizarre statement of mine. These games are nothing alike in functionality, but remember how each NPC was supposed to have a day-night life cycle in Cyberpunk? That's how it feels with Deathloop to me. Deathloop doesn't have a feeling of a living place, because time doesn't feel like it passes, it's static. Yeah, that's right. A time loop game without the urgency of time. Now, how about that? The opening sequence of this game is 110% its strongest hours, and they are quite fucking fantastic hours. One of the best game openings I've ever played. And the voice acting is not to go understated. The voice acting in this game is the most impressive part, in my opinion. Jason Kelly does a phenomenal job as Colt. I was gripped in every moment he was talking. Colt and Juliana are pretty much the biggest part of this game that felt alive. The puzzles in this game are also pretty well made, but sadly the game decided that hand-holding was the best way to make this more mainstream. Essentially, if Colt sees a piece of information, like a code or something, he will just essentially tell you the answer when you find the other half the puzzle, whether you realized it was the answer or not. So essentially, not really a puzzle anymore. The funnest part of the game was figuring out how to kill as many of the visionaries as fast as possible, but that got stale about 10 hours in. The game doesn't really change or progress in a meaningful way. The game feels the same 10 hours in as it does 30. Essentially, I feel like this game was wasted on making it easier for the mainstream consumer. While I understand the decision, it still made me very sad. I'm a sad boy. I'm about to put the quick review. I didn't get to spend nearly as much time as I would have wished with this title, thanks to time constraints and me being slow in general at playing video games. So what I can tell you about Death's Door is that it's aesthetically a phenomenal game, but pretty passable otherwise. The art design is great, the way the attacks and enemies are designed is phenomenal, but the gameplay is shallow. In all truthfulness, I lost steam halfway through this game, and it never really managed to recapture me. But if you love roguelikes, you will probably appreciate this game more than I ever could. That's the whole review. Yeah, I know, I really... Genesis Noir is weird as shit and I love it. It's a very abstract story-based game and I think you should play it, assuming you don't only play League of Legends. The visuals are wacky and gorgeous and they bend your brain around every corner, and it can lead to a lot of confusion in some cases. The plot is relatively generic by murder mystery standards, but it can be interpreted a couple of ways, so I give it points for that. I do think that what you are paying for is the experience that the visuals give you, more so than the gameplay and plot, and they are some damn cool visuals. I do have to mention that a lot of the gameplay of the game can feel super repetitive and grindy, but I didn't notice very often thanks to how gorgeous this game was. Essentially, you should nab this game on a sale after you get Before Your Eyes. This was another quick... I know, I'm just kind of shotgunning right now. Just ignore me. Move on. Hitman 3 is next, okay? Okay. Hitman 3. I really enjoyed my time with this game, but I can't deny that it feels like Hitman 2 with a 3 tacked on. It's more of the same thing, but that's not really a complaint. This game is superb, just like basically every game in this franchise. It's fun as hell, and it has even more places to visit and discover. But my one major complaint is the requirement to be online at all times. Like, what? Why? For what reason? Other than that, this game is more of Hitman 2, but with even more maps, more fun ways to kill people, and more great ways to fuck up your mission and get in a massive firefight. This is probably the best on this list of honorable mentions, but these are in literally no order at all, so let's move on to Hood, Outlaws, and Legends. Nothing distresses me more than to watch a game I love die horrifically upon launching. Now, while I can't recommend this game to you because it only has 40 concurrent players on a good day, I wouldn't be able to forgive myself if I didn't at least mention it. This game was super fucking fun, and the art team that designed the environments did an absolutely perfect job. It distresses me so much that they've watched their creation die. The game just didn't manage to streamline its gameplay well enough. It wanted to be a stealth brawl game, and as you would expect, those genres don't really fit together easily. I think what busts my balls the most about this game is the fact that they were so close to finding that perfect medium. So close I could nearly taste it. But sadly, it never stuck that landing, and it was dead before Season 1. Rest in peace, Hood, Outlaws, and Legends. I loved you, and I will miss you. Scarlet Nexus has many flaws. Its plot is bland, its writing is below mediocre, and its characters fall flatter than Paper Mario. But what does it do right? The gameplay, baby. This game is very satisfying to play, to the point it's frustrating to have it interrupted by the plot. The way you can combo your slashes upward into a psychic slamming down of a car to pancake your enemy into oblivion is fucking fantastic. It just feels really smooth and responsive, as well as being very pretty. Which reminds me that I wanted to mention how pretty the world is and how well it's been imagined. The main hubs that you get to explore around are beautiful, but sadly that's about it. When it comes to exploration, there is shockingly little defined. It's like watching a Studio Ghibli movie, but there's no characters, it's just the backdrop. Still gorgeous, but I mean, you might as well just look at an art museum. It feels very empty. So all in all, if you want some tight gameplay, nab this game. Otherwise, I'd give it a pass. Ah yes, Necromunda Hired Gun. How you make me sad. It is important to keep in mind this is an indie game and it's at the price of an indie game. Now I didn't like Hired Gun and I really wanted to love it. I normally enjoy games like this, but hey, who knows? It might be your cup of tea rather than mine. Let's start with the negatives. The gunplay feels a little off. I don't really know how to explain it. The best way I can describe it is that it feels like you are playing like a video game journalist. Variety between the enemies is very slim. You have your gangers, yeah, that's the name they went with, Ogrins, Psychers, Miners, and Gene Stealers. They look great, they do. But when your game only has 5 enemy types, the replayability goes down. Some of the voice acting is quite bad, like horrible, like if I was voice acting them, and you don't want that in your game, sir. Executes don't work sometimes for no reasons, just some of the inputs just, it feels a little spotty. Wall run is absolutely shit, it just doesn't work right. I don't know, maybe Titanfall 2 has just spoiled me. And finally, the cutscenes are horrific. Sometimes the frames will drop just for them, and I'm confused about it to this day. Now the positives. Sound design is pretty slick for the gun. The shop owners look fantastic, like the amount of detailing is superb. It's fantastic. The maps are gorgeous. It really holds true to the Necromunda vibe. And as a massive fan of Warhammer, I appreciated that a lot. This game's strength is in its art. This game's strength is in its art. Why is that so difficult? Holy shit. This game's strength is in its art design. They knocked it out of the park. If this section sounds familiar, it's because it's a abbreviated version of my quick review I did on this game. So if you're interested, feel free to go check that out. It gives you a little more detail on how I felt about the game and gives some more gameplay footage. Now let's get on with the next review, the Riftbreaker. The Riftbreaker. This game is great. I really liked it, and I still boot this bad boy up every once in a while if I need some time to relax. I don't really remember the plot of the game, so I can pretty confidently say that it's relatively forgettable. But that's not why you play this game. It's a tower defense while also being a survival game, and it merges those things pretty well. This game is graphically very pretty, and I like how the blood looks. I'm not a maniac, I swear. Honestly, just typing this review is making me want to go play it. You know what? Adios. See ya, bitch.
Yeah. Woohoo. Get that motherfucker. Alright, I'm back.
All in all, the gore, the aesthetic, the gameplay, the lighting, the sounds, the artistic styling, all very good. It's a very relaxing and fun game, and I recommend it if you enjoy sinking into a chill tower defense-esque game. Now let's talk about Road 96. I don't typically like things that are politically charged, except for when it's for good development. This is an example of the good side of that coin, as while there is some very obviously heavy-handed political commentary, it still manages to let you pick your side on your own, or ignore it completely. And in the end, you're in it for the character. And the characters are pretty damn good. It manages to feel really unique and special with the multiple runs through the world as different people. And different versions of yourself that you play will meet the same people but in different situations, which could change how you think of them entirely. It gives you the chance to explore a reimagining of our real world in a very personal way. And I truly think this game is a worthwhile experience. This is the kind of game I'd buy just to support the devs, even if it wasn't my cup of tea. Highly recommend it for you beautiful, story-driven folks out there. Also, just for a moment, just listen to this music.
I've been kept inside so long. I've lost sight of right and wrong. When you left an open door, I couldn't help but explore. It feels so good out on the road and on my own, waking up now.
Alright, now let's talk about the ever-dreaded Halo Infinite. Now, I don't like being controversial, but Halo Infinite was kinda trash. I put this review this far into the video because I didn't want any diehard Halo fans to come for my neck without at least sticking through a good chunk of this. They gotta earn it if they want to hate me. First off, let me say the positives. This game has some amazing combat. Its gunplay and sound design is perfection, except for the carbine. I do not know what happened there. Now, Halo Infinite's free multiplayer is fantastic when it's boiled down to just the gameplay, but sadly it's got some mobile game microtransactions, and it's incredibly disappointing. I know the devs say they are working on this, but clearly not fast enough, and not well enough. Now lastly, what are these motherfuckers making you pay $60 for? A really shit campaign. Now, if you look at Halo 5, this is a major improvement, but that's the lowest bar in the universe. I do like that they are attempting to improve the Halo formula, but the problem is that they didn't improve it. The open world style of play is great and plays to the strengths of the game's changes. This is true, but sadly, the actual meat of the campaign is all fat. It's tasteless, boring, and way overpriced. I won't spoil the plot if you do wish to play it, but just know that it isn't worth your time or your money. The bronze Nimble goes to... I don't have two hands. Wait, let me... Inscription. I already spoiled it in the intro card. Inscription is a masterclass in ambiance and intrigue. This game plops you in with absolutely no explanation and delivers a continuously fun experience with endless replayability. I don't want to tell you anything about Inscription. It's that good, and it's worth your time. It will terrify you, exhilarate you, and put Hearthstone to shame. If you haven't played it, then you should buy it now. You need to experience this game. It is that good. There's no other experience like it out there. The silver medal goes to Resident Evil Village. Welcome to one of the best horror games I've ever played. I hate horror. I rarely am able to finish a single game in the genre, which is kind of hilarious since I'm a bit of a horror movie nut. But playing a horror game? Fuck that, dude. But something spurred me to play Resident Evil Village. I don't know why, but I'm glad I did. Resident Evil Village spirals you into a bizarre gothic landscape after one of the most traumatizing game openings I've experienced to date. I will not spoil it, even though you probably already know what I'm talking about. This game manages to be visually interesting as well as being thematically intriguing. Its world and its story just thrive on being explored. It somehow manages this feeling of being both linear and finding the right path being something you found on your own. And let me tell you, when this game decides to get scary, you better pray to Jesus motherfucking Christ, because he's the only one that can save you now. Each of the major villains are interesting characters that all shine a different light on the final antagonist. Some of them even offer different plans and opportunities to you. This is an amazing game, and it has some ridiculous and funny moments as well that help break the ice. If you love horror, play this game. If you don't like horror whatsoever, maybe consider giving it a shot. It's real good. Gold medal goes to Life is Strange True Colors. Whoa, let's go! This game was really good in my opinion. I know there wasn't a lot of love for this title out there and people really didn't like it very much, but I really loved it. It had so much heart and soul, and I think it really captured a very nice vibe in a bottle. Not to mention the music in this is fucking perfect. I mean, dude, Phoebe Bridgers is in this shit. The characters are beyond capturing and the town is gorgeous. Kinda like you. It's made in such a perfectly believable way that I genuinely fell in love with the town as much as I did the characters. As somebody that grew up in a small town, I felt incredibly at home. They captured the essence of trying to fit into a small town so well, and they even managed to capture grief much better than Twilight did. I think what I loved most about this game is that it did to me what books used to do. It stole me away into a new world, a world where I got to live as somebody else, somewhere else, and feel immersed into a tailored story that ended happily. It was nice to escape for a while, and I guess I just really appreciate this game for giving me that in a way that few forms of media can manage to give me anymore. Anyways, while I can't promise that this game will do for you what it did for me, I can promise that it's worth playing if you're a fan of story-driven games, or the Life is Strange series in general. platinum medal goes to It Takes Two. Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm losing steam. This game is fantastic, and it actually won the actual game of the year, but I give it second place for a couple of reasons. Mostly because it made me tear an elephant apart. Slight spoiler, but it won't make sense to you until you get there, so. Anyways, this game is fantastic. It's fun as hell, and it's developed in such a way that playing together is very easy to do. It has excellent movement, and its story has great heartfelt beats, and altogether it tells a story that I think isn't told very often. It's like Marriage Story, but with a happy ending. The environments are enchanting, the puzzles are excellent, and the minigames are exhilarating. Honestly, the minigames were my favorite part. Whenever I heard that little tambourine noise, I got excited as hell to see what they had in store. You should play It Takes Two with someone close to you, a best friend, your significant other, sibling, whoever. It helps to make the experience even better. Although it is a shame that this game can only be experienced by that shell of people to its full potential. Now let's talk about the game of the year, baby. As you can already tell, my game of the year is Guardians of the Galaxy. This game did for me what Life is Strange True Colors did, but they did it in space with some of my favorite comic book characters from my childhood. When I stumbled upon Star-Lord and his ragtag crew of space cowboys, I was hooked. I first saw them in that Spider-Man episode. Was it Amazing Spider-Man? Ultimate Spider-Man? The animated Spider-Man series, where there was a crossover episode with the Guardians of the Galaxy. I was like, who the fuck are these guys? They're awesome. I wanted to be Star-Lord so badly it hurt. He was cool, suave, and had cool magic guns. It was my absolute shit. So when I tell you there was finally a game that brought me into the galaxy as my childhood crush, you understand just how fucking amazing that felt. On top of all of that, this game has a lot of beautiful moments with these characters, growing them into half-functioning people. They were in fact priorly a barely functional crew of miscreants and punks. Can we bring back the word punk? I really like that word. Anywho, I wrote a 15-minute script for my quick review last time I reviewed this game, so I'll try to slow down a bit on this one. This game is graphically incredibly impressive. Whilst there are some bugs here and there, those are temporary problems, and they aren't even that bad. At least for me. I know some people had some pretty fucking awful ones. This game ran me around 23 hours or so to beat, and I savored every minute. I beat this game in 3 days. I was fucking hooked. And if you know me at all, you know my ADHD ass struggles to stick to one game for that long. I also want to bring up the facial animations while we are talking about the graphics. They are some of the best I've had the pleasure to experience, and that fact plays so heavily into the plot's strengths that you can easily tell each emotion the characters are feeling. This game is a superhero story at its finest. Hell, it transcends the title superhero and becomes a sci-fi epic that you deserve to experience. Lastly, I want to touch up on the gameplay and then we'll wrap this video up. The core gameplay is split into 3 categories: exploration, combat, and puzzles. The exploration is really good. There's a lot of fun trinkets to find in each world, and when you get back to the Milano, you can inspect them and your crewmates will respond with some interesting dialogue. It's a great system that allows you to feel like you yourself are progressing the relationships with your crewmates. Next up is combat. I know a lot of people don't love combat in this game, but I actually liked it a lot. Think Final Fantasy 15. It's very similar. And finally, the puzzles. The puzzles in this game are very easy, and basically just padding for the game, but they give some nice breath between the combat, and it gives the characters some time to talk to each other. Damn it, I'm taking forever again. Essentially, you should play this game. If you don't, you are absolutely missing out. Alright, final remarks. As a final rundown that gives us an order from 5th to 1st, Inscription, Resident Evil Village, Life is Strange True Colors, It Takes Two, Guardians of the Galaxy. I hope this video helped you find some games you didn't hear of and convince you to try out the ones you were on the line for. Do you disagree with me and think I'm a big dumb idiot? Feel free to say so in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you happened to enjoy this video, do please leave a like and maybe subscribe. You are gorgeous already, but doing those 2 simple things would make you so unbelievably sexy. Now go and have a beautiful day, you beautiful motherfucker. Don't die. Please. Oh God, please don't die. What would I do without you?